Welcome to Optimistic Insight. This world we create is not always the reality that we deserve. Do you feel like sometimes you suffer from anxiety, physical pain, ailments, and even emotional imbalance? Maybe it's just the reality that you've created from your internal dialogue. Every day we write the story to our life, but we never ask ourselves, what is the context of the words we are using? What do these words even mean internally to us, and how are they settled into the tone for my story? Well, it could just take a different point of perspective to gain another insight into what these words actually create for us. Welcome to Optimistic Insight. Today on Optimistic Insight, we have a great one for you. This is one of my fun suffixes of ness, which represents the state, quality, or condition of where we are. I love explaining these ness words because it really gives us a deeper inner set stance of what state we can actually be in. Today's word is going to be awareness, and this really comes into our location and where we can be. Now, when we shift into just the regular concept and the regular sight of awareness, we start to think of this presence that is us, maybe our consciousness, maybe your thought process, maybe your spirit, whatever it is. There is this deep aura that is inside of you. Now imagine that boundless, infinite, unlimited presence had a location. So where do we come in contact with the state that we are experiencing? The location of understanding the space you are in at that moment. In finding and becoming aware of this particular created space, you can find your grounding of self by identifying what occupies that space. This goes for your internal, biological, and external existence, or the sense of existing. To correlate and have a sense of where you are in the fabric of space you create in that order. What you fill with the space you create for self is your state, and calibrating your light and matter being to where you are being is an important concept to practice and actualize. Yeah, I know, it sounds a little complex, but when you're a light and matter being, that is your little lamb. You are a lamb. You are made up of light and matter. Light reflects off the matter, and you are being. That's when we take that location of where we are. Where is this matter located in space and time? And that gives birth to the awareness. We all have awareness, but it's a matter of finding out where it is. In today's story, we're going to look into war mentality. Now, I know this seems a little dismal and it sounds a little rough around the edges, but hear me out here. When you think of war mentality, what do you really think of? You have war, you have meant, you have all, and then you have itty. So we know that itty is the activity of all things that are meant of war. We can look at it that way. Or we can also look at it as warm mentality. To feel safe, to feel warm. That's all we ever wanted, right? Growing up in a real mentality of conflict, violence, uncertainty, and manipulation, you become subject to arming yourself and everybody with guns and your finger readily on the trigger. Guns that are stored in your internal environment condition you to be used to war mentality, which becomes a zone of comfort for you. These guns equal triggers. This war zone equals a warm zone. Triggers equal safety. When you have guns, you have more triggers. When you have this sense of war zone, you feel comfortable and you feel warm in that zone. So if there's no chaos, you feel uncomfortable. In the sense of having all those triggers and all those guns, it provides a false sense of safety, or the safeties become the actual triggers. Now, instinctively, the being seeks peace and security, which presents in a root unbalance. So the mentality that's formed begins to project what it equates with safety, which is the guns that it has seen. The triggers it acquires becomes the catalyst for a warm environment, so it becomes to create a realm that is fabricated from that. A warm zone starts to equate to a war zone. That war zone becomes triggers. That's how we know that we are in that war zone. We have those triggers that signifies I have guns. When I have guns, I have safety. Identifying the storehouse where these guns are stockpiled through internal awareness that you're in a war zone allows for the choice to put into place gun laws, trigger response, or a complete shift of what safety really means. Now, when you take an external look at that, you start to see that the environment is greater than the body, and the body is greater than the central nervous system, and the central nervous system leads to a down regulation. These things start to trickle down from the backward sense of safety, guns, triggers, war zone, and a warm zone. So the warm zone equating to the environment, the war zone equating to the body, the triggers and guns correlating to the central nervous system, and that safety is correlated to the down-regulating system. Now, focusing on the languages that the body speaks gives indicators to where these guns are stored and begins to provide more projected opportunities for life to present you with choices to decide your policy that will establish your real mentality. So in taking this position and shifting your mindset from a war mentality and really noticing that as we bring this awareness from a sense of a war zone to a warm zone, this is where we start to actively pick up our awareness off the battlefield and bring it back home, back to safety, back to that down-regulating system and the safety of our body.
Within the warmness of this war mentality, we find safety beyond guns, beyond our triggers, and this is where I ask the question, where is your safety connected to externally, and what is the language that it speaks? When I answer this question, I can only think of but one word: solitude. It speaks the language of equalization and calibration. Though yes, I have found warmth within community and the company of others, but I have also found the disorientation of society. For me to sustain a true state of safety, it is within solitude, to come to find the internal warmth of what seems like cold isolation. But if I can find warmth there and orient myself to remain warm in both, I can return to the tribe with my honorably warm mentality and provide that within my presence.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Optimistic Insight. I trust that these words have created new ways for you to utilize them and the emotions attached to them, opening up our perception on the way these words are viewed and processed daily can be the optimistic insight we need to create more fluid state of being.